It's time for the Charlotte FC podcast. Welcome to the Charlotte FC podcast. Today we have two exceptional women podcasters for Charlotte FC. They are part of the Queen's Pitch, and like we do all podcast starts, we have the guests we're interviewing basically give an elevator pitch about themselves and what they would say to people they just meet. So we'll start off with Kara and then we'll go to Bridget. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Kara Hunter. I'm co-host of the Queen's Pitch podcast. And, we just went to do this podcast because we were big fans of Charlotte FC and in 2022, and we really noticed that there were a lot of male fans and a lot of male podcasters and people talking about the team, but we didn't see a lot of women getting those same platforms. And we were like, well, we want to hear from the women. Where are they? Where are they? And we were listening to podcasts. We were devouring more information about the team and things like that and learning a lot more. But where were the other women voices? And we were like, we noticed that this was an area that was lacking despite having a lot of female fans. And so in fall, I was really interested in it. And then that's where kind of Bridget came in.
All right, Bridget, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I have a daughter who is a goalie. She's 11 and she's a goalie. So I'm a soccer mom. Kara's a soccer mom. We're just soccer moms. And so we got into the Charlotte FC, went to one of the games, and then all of a sudden we were hooked. And so we just felt like this was the best thing for us to do is get our voice out there as well, get the soccer mom voice out there. There's a lot of other voices, but we just feel like soccer moms have a voice too, and females. You don't have to be a mom, but just a female and everything. So I like to do it I want to say my kid got me into it, but then now she's got better things to do because she's a preteen.
So how did you all connect and get together? Because like you said, there's lots of women out there that are doing stuff. Like, how did you all get together and know each other in order to say, you know what, we should do this together?
Bridget, that's all you.
I just made a thing I think it was on Twitter or something. And we were talking back and forth on other podcast shows, and I reached out and was like, let's do this together. And Kara was like, okay, let's try it. And then she stuck together with me. Not the easiest person to work with, but after we got our schedules aligned, then it worked out. And now she can't get rid of me.
Yeah, and we had help. My husband is an audio nerd.
Okay.
So he was helping us learn what we were doing kind of and with the technology side of it. But the talking soccer, like we could do that all day.
Right. You were doing that anyway over like Twitter and stuff like that. So you were like, let's.
Correct.
And did you all meet in person before, or did you meet virtual first?
We actually went to a Crown Legacy. We went to a Crown Legacy meet and greet. So we talked online and we decided, well, let's record. And we met at Crown Legacy. I think it was one of the Crown Legacy first, I don't know, meet and greet things before they ever played a game. And we met up and then we went to the park and we recorded that day. So we met online, but then we were like, let's do this. And then we just did it.
Well, and we actually, that was the first time we recorded, but we actually met at Anton Walk's memorial. Stadium. Yeah. But we didn't get to obviously interact there.
We
but
didn't talk and chat. That was
a different
wasn't the place for it.
We did meet. We did sit together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you decide, okay, we're going to do this. And then you're like, oh, we got to come up with a name. Oh, we got to do this. Like, what is all the behind the scenes story of now that you wanted to do this and you knew kind of the audience and you all talking soccer the way you do was going to be your selling part. But what did you do to get it going?
Well, the name was I thought, the Queen's Court, I wanted to play off of the fortress, the bank. So I was thinking the Queen's Court, but then that was that to me, that sounds like basketball. So I just wanted, it was like a soccer pitch. So I was like, okay, the Queen's Pitch. And it just kind of works. I feel like it works. So I was kind of proud of the name. So that's how we came up with the name. And then, it was one of those things. It's like a trial and error thing. I think our first one was pretty rough, but we just worked together and we tried to figure it out. And now I think a year and a half later, we found our groove. Hopefully we're getting there anyway.
And it was just all about amplifying female voices in that, because again, there's a lot of men in this space. There's a lot of men talking, and in sports in general, there's also been the, I guess, stereotype that men do get to talk more and get their platforms, get themselves heard more as sports fans. But with women, they don't often get that opportunity. And we were like, well, why not? And that's one of the things when we set out to do it, we know we're just fans and we don't have any any background for anything. We're just like, all right, we're gonna talk from an area of not knowledge.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Just passion. And then we'll, talk to different people who have that, and hopefully other people who have knowledge, and just learning and welcoming people who all the way up from experienced fans, but also new ones as well, whether they're
I think
kids,
a lot of
teens,
people
family,
do
whatever.
that anyway. Like that's what that platform's about, is that anybody can kind of put it together, but then it's like, what are you saying? And like, I don't think anybody feels like certain people are experts at anything, but it allows that openness for people to come in and be themselves inside of that area. And, just like you all, just like anybody else, you're well informed, you read, you follow the game, you understand it. There's no reason why your voice couldn't be there either.
Yeah, that's how I
Well,
felt. Because I mean, and a lot of people feel like, we should watch the girls' sports. Like, why aren't we covering the girls' teams, or why aren't we covering, the female? And we do enjoy female soccer, don't get me wrong, but females can also like the men's teams, and we can still talk about them too. And I
right.
know just as much as I mean, I don't know a lot, but I can read the stats just like everybody else, and I have an opinion. And I feel like just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that our voices don't matter. And a lot of parents do soccer moms in general, or any parents are out there, they're doing it. They're like, hey, I don't know everything about the game, but I still have a voice and I want to be heard. So that's where I kind of come from.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you got your name, you got your logo, you kind of had some help getting set up on podcast platform. So you did all that, and then you had to design, like, what is the show going to be about? Are we just going to talk about after a game? Are we going to react to something? Are we going to do other things? Well, what kind of went into the planning there?
Well, first I'll shout out to Matt Barbie, who created our logo generously. So that's his creation. He did a fantastic job making that for us. So Bridget has a lot of friendly connections to the Charlotte FC
Community
area. So it's really, we've learned from all the other podcasters who've gone before us, and that's part of it as well. But we also know, like, when we don't come from a professional background, we don't have any credentials. But again, with the idea towards female voices, we kind of want to do everything, just chat, in that we wanted to talk about the games because that's where we were not seeing as many women talk about them. But also we wanted to find stories about women in this area, but also talk to female fans because they weren't having that opportunity. And so we started off last year doing some of that. Carol was the first one to talk to us of the Charlotte Ledger. Yeah. And everyone's been really welcoming to letting us. Yeah.
Carol's wonderful. I mean, I've learned so much from her.
She is. She's like a mentor. I say she's a mentor, but she's a friend too. But she knows so much, and she gave us a chance. We just one night we're like, let's record, and she did, and she trusted us to do it. So, I mean, those are the people that we look up to, the people that we don't know a lot either. But like, I feel like this community is really welcoming. So, like Kara said, a lot of the podcasters, we work together, we talk together, we help each other out, and if we have a question, you can ask each other. And I kind of like that about the little. It's like a little community.
Yeah.
Well, and for us, we know that in our own lives, like as moms, especially, we're coordinating our families. Like, our families don't run without us. So we're often supporting the other people in our family, and we're looking at other people going, well, they're humans too. They're probably doing the same thing behind the scenes. It's not just their, I guess, public persona. Like, they're doing this, but who are they behind all of that? What else are they juggling? And so that's kind of the same attitude that we bring to talking to our guests as well. We know that there's multifaceted parts of the human, and so you're talking about their families and what they like at home, and just general things like that make it a little more real.
So what would you say after doing this? Like, what did you feel like, because you get feedback. That's the wonderful thing about being put out there on the media, is you're gonna have feedback right away on what people like, what they don't like. What kind of things did you notice in the beginning that you've changed and molded to what it is now, based on the feedback you got from people who listen?
I think one of the biggest things I talked to Danny with the Charlotte Soccer Show. He's one of the people that give me a lot of advice because he does that for not podcasting, but he's been in the sports broadcasting for a long time, and he's just like you can't always trust what's on the internet, what's being seen, what like what the comments on. You can't always go by that. You have to just find your own niche and go with it. It's supposed to be a fun thing, and once you get too focused on what people are saying or what people are thinking of or having to mold, because there's so many other podcasts out there. So if we tried to be like everybody else, then that just ruins us. So we just have to focus on ourselves and go out there and do that. So I try not to worry about that. One of the things is we're not professional journalists, so we have to watch how we say things. We repeat the same words a lot, so you have to so you have to, that's what we've been careful about. And it's just trying to learn not to do that. And then like in press conferences, we've been lucky to be able to do those this year. The team's been great and allowed us to do that, but we're not professional journalists. First, people were criticizing us because we don't know how to ask questions properly. I use the word "we" a lot in them because I'm not a journalist. I'm a fan, and I get excited. So those are I like criticism that's constructive and can come back. Like Carol gives us constructive criticism, other people do. So those are the ones I take seriously. But for the most part, I try not to focus, or I personally try not to focus on too much other, because I don't want to change how we are just because somebody else does something differently.
Yeah, and I was thinking too that our point is we are not professionals. We are fans. We do it because we love it and because we have fun. And so what we try to definitely bring to it is more just genuine honesty, I think, to it, that we don't pretend anything. We are who we are. And I think when we're looking for people's stories and when we're talking to them, we look with that same eye as well, just to the real person.
Who's going to be authentic? Who's going to be genuine?
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed in your episodes, I kind of want to break some things down because it seems like you do have some things that you've patterned or thought about and said, well, we're going to do this. First of all, y'all definitely joke a lot. I know Bridget likes to do some puns, although she says sometimes she doesn't hit them right, but I think you do. You have good stories. And then I think you all have a good rapport back and forth, feeding off, because you do have different styles or different takes on how you watch the game. I feel like Kara sometimes brings in more statistics and things. And I don't know, Kara, if you rewatch games or if you do, Bridget, if you guys go home and like rewatch and look for stuff and like, well, wait, what happened here before you do that? But I also feel Bridget brings like the emotion that happens in a game and she feels it and it's spot on, 90% of the time. It's like, that's exactly what's happening. So I credit you to just how you watch and approach that. And I think that's bringing your authentic self out. So was that just planned, or just like you just said, you're just being you?
Kara rewatches the games. I do not. I can't. I can't focus. It's hard for me to focus at the games. I'm the shoe person, which aggravates Kara so very much. And I know it does, but she's learned to deal with me on it. Because that's how I see the game. I don't see numbers. I can't read the numbers. I can't always identify the players, but I can tell by their shoes who's where, what's going on. And I feel like maybe other people are like that. So I do that. I like to joke about things. I'm very emotional about the game, so I get really wrapped up in it. So I like to kind of laugh and joke it off because, sometimes I get real sad about it. And Carol rewatches the stats, and she rewatches it and will tell me about it. But I can't rewatch it because I'll get all anxious and my nerves will get over it again. So it's a balance. I think we've learned a balance. She's the calm one, and I'm the crazy one, and we try to balance each other out a little bit. Although I still do know what I'm talking about. I feel like I do still know a lot about what I'm talking about. I just try to bring the humor to it a little bit because, sometimes you get all wrapped up in it. I can go 3 or 4 days with not having to talk soccer at all after we lose.
I would say Bridget really rides the true football fan roller coaster. She goes up and down, and that's the true fan. She will ride that train. And so when, we're in the depths of a loss or something, she's like, don't talk to me. Like, I can't talk or something's going to come out of my mouth because I'm so mad and so upset or whatever. And so she rides that. And I try to stay over here. Now, during the match, I feel it. Like, I can't, I will be hollering at my TV, but I also know that how I respond in the emotion is not how my normal self would respond. And so I try to go back and I try to learn from it and try to gain information because I want to know the whys and things behind it and the patterns and things. So that's kind of what I look for, I do take notes. Yeah, I don't take notes through the whole match, but I'll take notes like, go back here. What did I notice here? And then when I rewatch, I take a lot of notes. because I don't remember everything from like last season and stuff. Like even earlier this season, I'll be like, I don't know what happened then. So I have to go back and really write that for myself because I won't remember this next month.
Yeah,
unless it's really, really amazing. I can't remember it. So I have to take.
Right. And then also in conversation, you're going to have stuff and be like, example, NYCFC. It's like they scored in the 90th minute and Bridget brings up like, when's the last time, we always seem to have these goals. How many goals were scored during this time? It's like you don't know those stats right away because you just brought it up. And you're like, I can't look that up and get that information in the amount of time while we're trying to do this. But yeah, you could look it up later to inform you. But that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it. Like it's like it's still in your brain, like, gosh, this is still happening, that kind of thing. That's pretty cool. Bridget, any kind of tips for you on how you approach the game? Just you said, besides watching the shoes and feeling it and just, kind of understanding what's happening throughout. Do you look for
See,
other
I don't
things?
know a lot of the soccer. I didn't grow up. I grew up playing soccer, but it wasn't as serious. And I don't know a lot of the stuff. I just know it from my kid playing and Rick, and now she's gotten to where I actually learn it. So I'm learning out there. I don't know what the number 9, 10, 8, 6, I don't know what everything does. So when I come into it, it really is just let's see who plays what position, what's where. I'm looking at it from an elementary level from where I'm seeing it from that angle. I look at it differently. I think, and I feel like if you're being paid to go out there and play a game, then go out there and do your job. So to me, I get a little too serious about it. I know it's an entertainment, but if we're paying you to do it, then do your job. So I don't know all the technical stuff about it, so I'm learning that. And I go in at that aspect. I'm just, okay, so you're a midfielder, you're this, go out there and shoot and do it. It's basic for me, elementary soccer.
Right.
Bridget's also really good at noticing some relationships that not everyone notices. Like sometimes she'll see when certain players talk to each other in a certain way or whatever. She notices those things, and she can notice, make this connection. Like maybe this is why, and maybe she just notices those small moments that you don't often
Yeah, like
see.
Enzo and Breck were talking on the sidelines last night. Breck would run over and tell Enzo what was going on in the game. It was kind of weird, but it's like I noticed those little things, the little nuances that go on between the players.
Right, like who hugs somebody after a match? Who do they look for after the score and assist? Like that
Enzo
kind of
did
stuff.
that hand motion last night and didn't have Vargas to do the other half of it. And, and Kara's like, he's just making an E. And I'm like, no, that's the other half of the Vargas sign. I don't know what they're doing, but that's their sign. Those little things that people don't pay attention to. I pay attention to that.
No, that's all important. I mean, it's coming out. They're doing it live. So yeah, they're doing it for a reason. So other things you all have in your show, like you do favors and you do rats. Tell us how you came up with that and what do you like about doing it that way?
Well, so we Bridget's favorite drink. She's got to have that, or she's not here today. One of the things that we were going into it, we were like, okay, well, we're going to run with the royal theme, but we want to have a play on words. Like, again, we know that these are human beings, and I think we're very conscious of not just criticizing and not just wildly praising. Again, there's levels to this. These people are human, and I think we should think all the way around the issue. So sometimes last year when people were criticizing Enzo when he first came, especially, was like, this man has just come from an entirely different country. There's things about all of that. And then he just had his baby the month or two, like when they came. And so like all these things, when you're a new parent, like there's things outside of this, what you are on the pitch doing that we think about. And that's one of the things that we also think about when we're giving our, I guess, opinions about what we see. Yeah. So that's one of the things where we have a play on the words of like favors, because the queen, when you're in a joust, you give your favor to your knight, that kind of thing. And then wrath, like, they would say like, off with your head, but we don't do that because that's too scary.
We don't get that evil.
No.
Did you think about that one? Were you like,
sometimes I can be mad about it, but So, Brett, tell me about Brett a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but it only lasts for so long, right? Some people are in favor for a little bit, and then they're not. And then some people are rats for a little bit, and then they're not. So
yeah, we do try to be balanced.
Yeah, I'm an I told Carol last time, I'm an equal opportunist, wrath or in favor. I mean, it's definitely what you earn during the game is what we're gonna do. And it's not like we're not trying to beat anybody down. We just want to say this is what we feel like you could do better, where we see things could, it's never oh, this person is so horrible. It's usually like, okay, they could work on this, and this is where we lacked in the game. And a lot of times it's not even a player, and sometimes it's the refs or other things that happen. But
Yeah.
I'm an equal opportunist. I'll favor Ashley Westwood and I'll wrath Ashley Westwood. I'll favor George Marks or, not lately, and I'll wrath them. But so I feel like it's just anybody's game. It's whoever plays the best.
And not only that, but everybody has a bad day. Everybody makes mistakes. And I think it's important to point out those things too, because we know, like myself as a person, if I have a bad day, I make a mistake, I'm like, this is terrible. I'm doing awful today. And I will tell you that this is where I am. And it's a disgrace. And I think
You're
they
just
have
not
those days
public
too.
doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
right.
true. But yeah. And so I think sometimes when you're a fan and you look at that performance, that's what you see is that surface level of, oh, well, they're terrible because they had a bad day. And so that's one of the things that I think is important to go to pull out about their play.
So you also have the Queen's Tea, which is kind of special interviews away from talking about the game, but just more about people. Tell me about that.
We love those. Those are our favorite. I mean, we enjoy the recaps, but we were trying to we like to broaden horizons. We talked to Becca Westwood. That was one of our favorite ones to do. She's awesome, by the way. We have one with Ben Bender. We love talking to Ben. It's just one of those things. We're playing off the Queen's Tea. You have the Queen's Tea every day, and we just like to sit down and talk to people. And we want people to, even if it's we like to highlight females, obviously, within the organization, the teammates, wives, things like that. We enjoy that, but we like the players too. Obviously, we're covering the team, so we want to highlight players, but we want to get them on a personal level, because I feel like if you get to know people personally, it makes you more invested in them. It makes, because these guys, yeah, they're out there, they're playing for us, or they're helping us out with the team or doing things for us. But once you get to know them, they're people. I mean, that's just their job, and on the surface level, and we want you to get to know them a little bit better, because that's how I want to know people. I don't want to just know that Enzo has frosted hair out there on the field. I want to know what makes him tick and like what makes him go. With Ben, like
Brings
what's
him
How that
what's
joy.
frosted
What?
hair makes you feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
things.
emotions behind
that's
it.
why I do my thing, because I want to know behind the scenes, like what is really going on. We see a lot of stuff out there on the pitch, and everybody can comment and see that. But what are the things that are motivating people? What are the things that their barriers or struggles at home that they have to deal with? Some like to share and some don't. You're going to have that. But just like you said, Bridget, the more you know about someone in that way, the more you have empathy, the more you understand, the more you want to be a cheerleader for them.
Hmm.
And also when we talk to people, we think of, well, how did you get there? And I used to work with teenagers as I was a teen librarian for the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. And in that, I'm always thinking of, like, especially since we both have children and my background in teens, again, how did you get there? How did you make this path for yourself? And I think those stories are really interesting too, because sometimes it's just all about conquering fear and taking chances. And I think that's what you need to hear, because it's a gamble. And when you're you don't know what lies ahead in the future for you, but you're still trying to make goals, you're making dreams. Well, you need to hear these stories of how people got there so that you know these opportunities and maybe have a better idea of what you might want to take advantage of if that is your dream.
Right, and even as adults, everybody, out there didn't plan exactly what they're doing. They're doing it as they go along and readjusting and making new plans based on whatever's been given to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would have
How
thought
much
we would do a podcast. If you'd asked me 3 years ago if I'd do a podcast on the Charlotte FC team, a soccer team, I would have said absolutely. I mean, what are you, crazy? And here we are. And it just shows that even two soccer moms, she's a librarian, I'm an accounting person, so it's just the two soccer moms decided to do it. And if you put your heart and soul into something, you can make anything happen.
I was just gonna say, me too. The stories behind the player. Again, I love to read. I'm a librarian, but not all librarians love to read. But I do love to read, and so the story of the person, I think, is also captivating to learn who
Yeah,
they are and that about them, their journey to there, or their relationships in those stories and that behind that.
right. So how much time do y'all spend in a week on the podcast?
Oh, well, since I rewatch it, I mean, I would say a couple hours, obviously rewatching, but I also rewatch on like fast speed, which
Mhm.
MLS on TV doesn't do. You can't cast it your TV and make it go fast, which is obnoxious to me. So I have to watch it on my phone or my little iPad and have them be really small, which is just the worst. But so I do all of that and then I make my notes and it takes a few hours. And then I also try to go back and look at different stats and things like that right before we record. But I mean, I would say our recording only takes like an hour, but then my husband does most of the editing. Sometimes I'll do an interview here or there or an episode here or there. But since we're balancing
Mhm.
our lives together, since he's our kind of producer, he does the editing, and that'll take an extra bit of time too, because we are not, I would say we do try to make sure to not waste the time of the listener in as much as we can. So we don't want to leave extra silences, or if we do something goofy that isn't good for audio.
And I tend to say things that maybe shouldn't have been on. Like, I don't say anything really inappropriate, but there's some things that I probably shouldn't say that I just say, hey, let's cut that out. Just don't, because we are a family friendly podcast. So there's some stuff that can be interpreted the wrong way. And I do get very emotional. So sometimes we'll be like, let's just cut that out, and I'll laugh a little too much and it'll get cut out too. So it helps.
Laughs are good. It helps people smile about this, whether winning or losing. You've also been able to attend some practices, go to press conferences and things like that, whether it's Zoom or live. Like, how does that fit in? Since you have two of them, I guess you all trade off on who can do what.
Yeah, we have to find our niche. I think we found things that we can do. Like, I have a little bit more flexibility in my job. So, and Kara's she just has a newborn that's about 5 weeks old, 6 weeks. So she can't get out and do many things. She participates via Zoom to any press conference. And then if we're at the games, we go. But I'm able to go to some of the players, the player practices. I can go to the press conferences in person. I can do a little bit more of the in-person meetups. So I've been handling that a little bit more. And I'm more of the outgoing one as far as I reach out to people. I don't mind sending a text or asking somebody or doing something. And Kara's not as brave at that as I am. So I'll take that stuff upon myself and do those things. And then she's more of the organizer, keep me in line type of person. So we just find our niche and what works best for each of us.
We really do balance each other out pretty well in that, like, if it's a press conference or whatever, like Bridget will have some questions, but she's usually, sometimes people ask the ones you already had. So then I'm also writing questions as well and trying to feed those to her. So if she's there in person. So when we really do something, it's usually as a team effort, even though you might see Bridget, but she is so much better at just getting to know people and being welcoming and just like the warm person that she is. She brings to meeting new people in those spaces. And I am your introverted friend. You have to bring me to that. I will meet anybody, but I am a one-on-one type of group. And I will probably not, if I blow something up in the middle of it, I would probably be dying for the next month. So inside. So
we're a great pair together after the games. You should see us. I'm over here waving at the players and everybody, and look, Kara's like, please do not speak to him. Please do not do that. Please do not, and I'm over here just, hey, I'm going to talk to him if he walks by. And she's like, only if he walks by. Please do not yell out at him. And I'm like, okay, here I am. So we definitely balance each other out.
Yeah, and it's like you all expressed before, there's definitely a fine line when you're a fan versus being a media person, and like when you have to put on different hats.
Correct.
Bridget, what did you say that you do that allows you your flexibility when you're not doing podcasts? What is your profession of right now?
I work in corporate accounting, and I get to do, I'm on a flexible schedule. So as long as I work my hours and get my stuff done during the week, I'm able to do that, I'm blessed to be able to do that. So
yeah, no, that's super.
I do work in accounting, but numbers are not my thing. So if you listen to the podcast, you'll think, oh my God, I cannot believe she's in accounting. I do know what I'm doing on that side, but when it comes to the players, I'm not good. Contracts, none of that. Great. Don't ask me. I can't.
That's great. And we know Carol is a former librarian and she has a young child, and that's enough in itself for anybody.
I'm kind of on maternity leave / stay-at-home mom transition last year. So that's more flexibility, but also not in a way that lends itself to going anywhere easily. So my family has been very generous in their support of allowing me to do some of this a lot longer. So like last night, like my mother-in-law was keeping our kids and our baby who was screaming and not wanting to go to bed during the game. So yeah, we're just lucky in that our families are, and then my husband allows me to do that.
Cool. Well, now I'm going to shift a little bit and talk more about your kind of your early life and just kind of like you all said, like getting to know you all besides just what we hear and see on the podcast. So, um, each of you can take turns saying what did growing up look like for you? We'll start with Bridget. Where are you
I'm
from?
a country girl. I grew up in North Carolina. I'm North Carolina born, and I am a North Carolina girl. I'm all about some North Carolina. So I was raised, my mom passed away when I was younger, so I was raised by my dad and my stepmother. And I have 3 siblings, all younger than me. I'm the crazy one. Obviously, I'm the loud one out of us all. But I grew up, I wasn't in sports. I was a nerdy person. I read a lot. I did like sports. I grew up like in the Tar Heels basketball. I was a big basketball fan, Michael Jordan days. And
Uh-huh.
then there was soccer in high school when I got there. There was the girls got to play, but I wasn't really, just wasn't, I was a band geek, majorette, did that kind of thing. Went to UNC Charlotte and then got a degree in a bachelor's in business and just started working. I worked my way through college. So I've been in the working field. I became a single mom in 2012 to my daughter. She's 11 going on 15. Well, she'll be 12 this year, but she's going on 50. She thinks she knows everything, does everything better than me. But I got her into soccer when she's 4 just because I didn't want to watch baseball because those are boring when they're kids, in my opinion. And I got her into soccer, and when Charlotte FC had a team, I was like, let's go see a real soccer game. And she got hooked then. And ever since then, I've been into this team. And now she's a preteen and doing her own things. And I'm over here in the sports by myself. No, she watches the games and she likes them, but it gives me a little bit more freedom, doing this because I don't have to watch her at all the games, but she does watch them at home, and she wanted to know why Enzo was shushing people. So she's still into it, but she's not as into it as I was. So I get kind of sad about that, but that's my life. I'm just a single mom of a kid. That's what I like to do. That's all about her. Well, until now.
Thanks
And
for
your
opening that
pets.
up. What did you tell her about Enzo shushing people? What did
I
you
told
tell
her
her?
it's shushing the haters. It was the haters.
Yeah.
Bridget, tell them about your menagerie.
My what?
All your animals.
Oh yeah, I have lots of cats and dog. I have one dog and cats. I don't know. I'm an animal person. I love animals. I have a big heart. Unfortunately, I can't turn them down. So if they're in need, I'm helping them out and saving them.
So how many do you have? Like 17?
Oh, let's please not that many. Not that many. Less than that. I was pleased, but there was a neighborhood. One of the ladies in my neighborhood, she left. She had to leave, I guess, or did something and I don't know. Anyway, she left her dog. It was abandoned, so I've been taking care of this abandoned dog for 2 months. Finally, animal control got that dog, and I've now been worried about it. I can't take on any more animals. I just can't do it. But
I was gonna say,
love it.
you asked her how many she had, but it's flexible for her because sometimes she'll
Yeah.
just be like, "Oh yeah, I've had this cat for 2 weeks," and she won't tell me, but she just takes on animals like that. So
Oh wow.
you're all the time seeing a new animal.
What about you, Kara? What was life growing up for you?
So I was born in Charlotte, but I have half of my side of family has lived in and around Charlotte/Gastonia, mainly on my dad's side. But for the most part, I've always lived outside of Charlotte in Gastonia. Went to a small private school, kindergarten through 12th grade. And small, like my graduating class was 24. So I was not used to big anything, but I got to play a lot of sports. Like when you're at a small school, you can kind of do a lot of things. And so that was a blessing for me in that I got to play volleyball, soccer, basketball, cheerleading. Those is what we had for girls, and I did them all. I think in the later ones they finally added some softball, but that's not for me. I don't do that. I really enjoyed soccer, but girls soccer wasn't really done very much as far as like they didn't teach you marriage. They're just like, here, go run, play, kick a ball. And like the other sports had a little bit more structure. So I did get to play some of that. I was a goalkeeper and center back. And then later I was a defensive mid. So like I am not good at attacking anything, but I will defend and put myself in a wall through all of that. So as far as like tough, that was me. I hated being a goalkeeper as far as like the pressure on you, but I do it because I'm pretty physical in that way. And if other people wouldn't. So that's one of the things that I really loved. And so when I was going to college, I really wanted to keep going with volleyball and soccer, but I didn't. My year, they had taken on a bunch of new freshmen. It expanded a whole bunch, but I went to what is now Milligan University in Johnson City, Tennessee, because I wanted a smaller school. Like, I visited UNC and stuff, and it's just not for me. I can't be at big places and feel not necessarily safe, but comfortable in those spaces. So that was not for me. But I also knew at 17 that I wanted to be a librarian. I really, really loved, of course, reading, but also helping. We did like some sort of research project where you were trying to look up what you wanted to be and things like that. And I had always been helping my classmates when we would do field trips to the library, and because people don't know what they're doing there. And so I was already kind of doing some of that as a teenager. And so that kind of just was a little bit natural. I didn't know that I could be that later, but I also was like, well, I know libraries the turnover wasn't a whole lot, right? Like, there's not as many opportunities in libraries. So I knew probably needed to back up. And so I tried to get my English degree, tried to be a teacher, got to senior year. And I was like, no, I can't meet 150 kids. Like, I can't do that. I work better with smaller groups. But my college, it was important for me to go there because it's a small liberal arts college and I'm a Christian. So that was also really important for me to go somewhere where I could connect my beliefs as well. And my entire family are Christians and have been pastors. So like, I'm a pastor's grandkid, pastor's niece.
Right.
That's important in my family. And all the adults until me, because I'm the oldest of all the grandkids. And I was the first one to go, I don't want to go to Bible college. Everyone else did. So even though my dad and my mom didn't take jobs in ministry, they got jobs outside of it. But I was the first one going, nope, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a missionary. Like, that's not for me. I just want to do a regular person job, but still live my beliefs. And so that was important for me to get more education that was, I guess, general, but also they have a really cool program at Milligan that's humanities, is like art, history, English, music, philosophy, all of it wrapped up in one. And so that really appealed to me because I'm a student. I love to learn. And that also helped me in going into library school. And the other thing is I also wanted to work with teenagers because at the time, young adult literature wasn't respected and wasn't really a thing until like Twilight really came on the scene. And that was right when I was a teenager. But also the stereotype is teens don't have voices. They, adults are constantly annoyed by them. They're hoodlums, kind of a thing. And that was that attitude of don't respect them and don't respect their voices. And that was important to me going into it because I was like, these are the future adults. Like, if the way you treat them now, these are your future adults. So it was important to me to recognize that. And just because you're a teen, just because you're not an adult, doesn't mean you don't deserve your voice to be heard and doesn't mean that your voice isn't valid. And so that was the other thing too, when I was going into library school, that I wanted to do that. So I was really lucky to be able to get a job that way, because here in Charlotte, I also knew that while I went to Tennessee, I couldn't live there. It's too cold. It was in the mountains. And I ended up coming back here, and my whole family's around here. My husband, he and I had met at Carowinds when I was 16. So he actually ended up following me to college. But I wasn't the type of person to compromise what I was doing with my future for a relationship. So, but he was like, no, I'm following you. Wait. But he was older than me. He was already in college for 2 years at that point. And so our relationship stayed through all of that. But we moved back here, and because I realized how much more important it was to be with my church, my family, that's where I wanted to be. I loved Charlotte, and I got a job at the library in 2013. And that's also when I had my daughter, became a mom, my other dream. So, so she is 10. I have a 6-year-old boy, and then I have a 2-month-old little girl.
Wow.
But
your first job was in library as a librarian?
My first adult job has been a librarian. So I was a librarian for 10 years and got to do all sorts of amazing things, talk to amazing people, help a lot of teens in that.
What was your first teen job?
Carowinds.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked in food and beverage because, they employ so many teenagers per year. And so I was like, I don't want to work at some small, tiny place where I see the same people. I wanted a variety. I wanted change. So I got a job at Carowinds knowing that I'm pretty good at cleaning, cooking-ish jobs, helping jobs.
Yeah.
And so at 16, I was like, all right, we're going to do this. And within 2 months, I was promoted because I'm pretty responsible. I am your mom friend. Like I'm not wild. I don't,
You make sure
that's
everybody
just me.
doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm, if you need something, I'm like, oh, here you go. That's kind of how I operate and how I operated then. And I ended up meeting my husband there. And when he came back from Europe, he was on his graduation trip. He and
You
I
were
were
working.
co-managers.
Oh, okay. So he worked there too. Gotcha.
He did. Yeah, he doesn't remember the first time I saw him, but I was toasting buns in what used to be Nicktoons Cafe. And he had come over because he worked at a little icy stand and they would have to come and like warm up the pretzels in the pizza oven. And so he came over
Got
to
it.
talk to my boss for the thing. And I saw him there and I remember that, but he didn't know who I was and I didn't really know who he was. But then when we met later, yeah, it was really weird because his best friend also worked at that place under like as an employee for the two of us since we were both managers.
Yeah.
And she basically was like, ha ha, he's a jerk. And of course, she said another word that I'm not going to say on air. And I was like, how could you call your friend that? Like, that's so mean. From my background, you didn't say words like that. and now I know it's just because he's a smart aleck to the T. So
He didn't come over and say, "Hey, will you toast my buns?"
no.
I saw you perk up with that line. Bridget, what was your first like teenager job?
It was lame. I worked for a collection agency. I did data input. I was so lame because I worked in business. But then I worked at Walmart. It was like when Walmart's first got opened out where I lived in the country. It was open. So I was a 16-year-old that was scanning stuff at Walmart. I was the best scanner at Walmart back then.
And so that made you want to get into be an accountant and be in business?
No. I just wanted to get out of small town China Grove. So I decided to go to the big town of Charlotte. Back then it was not as big as it is now. But I did that and then I just went into business. I just happened to be in the office field. I started working in an office out of high school. So that just happened to fall into place. I don't know what I'd do if I really, like what do I want to be in life? I don't know. I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I get it. I thought we could get some advice from you all, not only on podcasts and starting your own thing and just putting yourself out there, but just other things too that might help people realize you are being authentic and real in all the stuff that you do. So first question is, what are some of the biggest sacrifices you made to make this podcast and do what you're doing right now?
For me, it's just mostly like sleep and the fact that for one of us to work on it, the other one has to take all the kids. So since my husband does that job too, so for us it's a huge balancing act and we can't just, up and leave and go places. So I have to be here. Also, it was hard last year too because I actually quit being a librarian last June because being a mom and working 45 hours a week plus traveling and things like that, like the commute and things, I just wasn't being the type of mom that I wanted to be and being able to juggle. And this, of course, is a passion project. And it was just exhausting doing all the things that I wanted to be. And that's ever since COVID. Like I feel like COVID really changed a lot of things for how I was balancing, but it wasn't when you're a parent like that, I feel like it's a lot of run yourself into the ground because you're just wearing so many hats. And so with this one, it's one more, but it was also important to me and fun to do. And that's the other thing that I think it's important to do something. If you're going to do something like this outside of your day to day, the things you have to do, it better be fun.
Right.
You better
Right.
enjoy
You better
it.
enjoy it. Yeah. What about you, Bridget?
Yeah. I think it's mostly the time that because I'm a single mom, so I have, and Kara has 3 kids, so that's about equal, I think. But it's just the time because you have to make a commitment. The podcast is a commitment, and we've stuck through it. Last year was a lot heavier for us because we were in the Leagues Cup, so it was like we were like recording every other. It was like every other day, so we had to make time to do that, and that was one of the big things I think that we've had to sacrifice. Is just like she said, sleep, but just our time for ourselves, because I mean, if you're going to do this, I feel like we need to do it. And I have to learn patience. That's my biggest thing I've learned out of this is patience, because working with two different people, having us two different people in two different lives, and us being moms, it's the scheduling part of it. You got to be patient. You got to be able to work together. Our kids sometimes want our attention, but we have to push them off to say, "Let us finish this, and then we'll get with you then." Those type of things.
When
It
both our
also
kids are in
shows,
soccer, and
yeah,
Yeah, so we
like
go to soccer
that links
games
its own
too.
schedule. Yeah. And so
Yeah,
for us, we know that our kids are the priority. And so for a lot of the times that we're doing it, we're like, our wants and needs are last,
yeah.
typically. That's just how it goes as parents in general. So for this extra thing that isn't a requirement, it's not like it's your job. So it is another level of we want to do this. And so for Bridget and
right.
I, it does come kind of last for us. And so when we
Yeah.
don't get episodes out on time, or we don't post things, or we don't prepare things ahead of time, why. It's because we're living the rest of our lives, that we're
Right.
only two people with two hands.
Yeah.
So
But what's going to be neat is that your kids will look at this later and be like, my my mothers went out there and just did this thing. They just put themselves out there and did this because it was something they were interested in, and they just made it happen.
I think that's why I
That's
wanted
pretty
to do it. I wanted to give my kid, being a single mom, I don't have the financial resources and things like that to help my kid, advance in life. But I want to show her that if you, put your mind and effort into something, you can definitely do it. And I've made connections that have benefited her in the long run just from doing this podcast. But it's taking that work and wanting to do it. And I want to show my kid, like, if you want to do this, you can do it. Even if I'm not going to tell you my age. If you're old like me, or you're younger like Kara with 3 kids, you can get out there and you can make it happen if it's something that you want to do. And I think that's exciting for our girls to see, is that we're kind of breaking a barrier in the whole male podcast, following the MLS type thing. As just because it's a male dominated area doesn't mean you can't go in there and do it yourself, no matter what stage of life you're in.
Yeah. So what keeps you all motivated to keep on doing it, and then what do you enjoy the most about it?
well, I think
This,
some of the things that help us, Bridget and I have a great relationship. Like, we've become friends through this. So it's a lot of that, but it's also interacting with people who, like, oh, we listen to you. Oh, well, that's great. Like, why don't you come on and talk to us? Honestly, because if you're a fan, and especially a female fan, we want to talk to you. Like, why shouldn't you get heard? You're no different than us. Maybe you don't want to put yourself out there in that way, and that's fine, because it's a little scary being brave to be criticized, I guess. But that's
Mhm.
what, the players do anyway. So part of it's just that. And part of it is, if you're a parent, you shouldn't necessarily sacrifice all your wants and needs and dreams for your kids. Like, there
Right.
needs to be something after. And so I think that's important to show them too.
Yeah, definitely. What motivates you, and what do you enjoy most about doing this?
what motivates me is that we started something, and I'm proud of it. It's kind of like my second child to me. It's like a baby project. This is our thing. We did it, and I want to keep growing. I want to do that. So that keeps me motivated. I want to do better. I don't want to, just get stale. I think my favorite thing about it is the people that I've met. I've met so many people in the community from all different walks. I've become friendly with some of the players, which are awesome. People like you, like Carol, Walton, Jess, like just all the different people that you meet, and Joe LaBou, I can't say his name right. Those type of people like that. I'm bad with names. I'm so sorry. But it's just that's my favorite thing, is interacting with the people, interacting with the other fans, interacting with everybody that has the same passion that I have.
Mhm.
I enjoy that.
Well, I was just going to
Right.
agree with that as well. Like, it's the people really that about this opportunity that have been just phenomenal, because you really see, like, oh, people love soccer, people love the team, but you don't get like the people they are behind it and how much love they put into the work they do for the team. That's also part of it. And so you get to see some of that when you do meet the people around the club and around the fans. And it's not just, we're here for the sport, we like it, and we like
Mhm.
the team, but it travels down. That's just
Yeah.
surface level. It's that total iceberg.
And I think when you work for yourself too, you can allow some things to be not as like political or anything like that, just because you're just doing what you want to do. Whereas if you're working for someone, it's like you have to do things. You have to, you have to produce it at this time. You have to get this out here. You have to say this kind of stuff. And it's kind of freeing to be able to be your own boss in this thing too, because you're shaping everything about it.
Yeah.
We know there's a certain line you have to toe for that. And if we can't do it authentically, then we shouldn't. But that's the same thing with our opinions on those things. Like, we are people, but that doesn't mean Queen's Pitch needs to say it. Again,
Right.
It's a fan commentary on the club. So if there's something that outside of that, like, we're not going to comment on it.
Right.
And
we
we
don't
do
have
that
to comment on
together.
every issue that happens. Yeah. That's one of the things we had to learn last year too, when things started happening in the team. Last year was very weird in the team, with all the stuff behind the scenes and players and stuff. We just learned that sometimes, like Kara said, we're just fans. We're just here to do it. We're not here to report on what's going on with XYZ. This happened. And there's certain things that we just don't want to take a stand on. We have personal opinions about it, but as a podcast, we choose to stay out. It's about the team, and it's about us coming out, recapping, enjoying. It's about the positivity and just the
Building
camaraderie
the
about it. We
community,
don't want to have
building the
to
fan base.
Yeah. So what's the vision for the show in the future?
I mean, I think we're just doing it because we find it fun and to get to talk to more people. I think one of the things that we want to increase this year is talking to more people, either within the club and talking to more. We've got some plans to hopefully talk to some more women in and around the club, whether it, they be related to players or professional or just things like that. And then come back to some of the people we talked to last time, I think too, like
Right.
they may have jobs with the club. Like, we'd love to talk to the supporter group presidents again. Whether that happens or not, don't know, and just see how this thing goes. Like, we'd love to talk to Becca Westwood again after the season is completed, because, we're all living this sort of together and what will happen.
Yeah. It's cool. All right. The last part of our show is called stoppage time. So we just do some quick answer questions.
It's stoppage time.
First one, I'm going to throw you off for a twist because I don't usually do this one, but I'll do it for you all. What is your walk-up music?
Mine's EDM.
Mine's Eminem's You Got One Shot.
Okay. All right. What is your
I don't know the name of the song.
What'd you say, Bridget?
I said I don't know the name of the song, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That song I don't know if that's the name of that song. Yeah.
We'll try to put it in the background as you come in. All right. What do y'all have as like personal rituals or habits that y'all do each day?
I have to drink my sun drop in the morning. My sun drops. Gotta have my sun drops in the morning. But no, the first thing I do when I wake up is I pray and thank God for all my blessings and for having another day. That's the first thing I do, and then I'll drink my sun drop.
That's the last thing I like to do every day.
I'll do that
that's
too
my
at the
quiet
end
time.
of the
In the
day.
morning is like when I've lost my brain and I have to go catch it. Just because everything's so hectic. But my first thing is I always get a Coke Zero and I try to put some vanilla in it. Or what I used to do when I was working was I would make myself a cup of tea, and it's lemon lift tea. This is my favorite.
All right. What is your all's favorite unplugged activity besides going to a soccer match?
I like to read and play video games.
TV. I like to watch reality TV.
Well, that's not really unplugged, but that's good.
Okay,
that
well, unplugging, I don't know.
You walk your dog.
I walk my dog a lot, but that's not like something I do because I'm out here enjoying life. I'm like, woo, I get to go walk my dog today. You just got to go walk your dog.
So what's your reality TV that you watch? Just you watch all of them, or you have?
I watch them all. I just watch them all. Everything. If it's reality, I try to watch it. I just like watching how people, like, especially the Real Housewives, because they have all the money, but they still act so dumb. So it makes me feel good about my life because I'm like, at least I'm living my life and I don't have all that. I just like all the reality shows. I think they're so stupid. So it just takes me out of reality. It just literally makes me not have to focus on what's going on in life.
You don't have to think. Yeah.
Exactly.
Kara, what about you?
I like to read, play video games. Right now, I can't really play any video games because my baby's so young and she's in the room and she'll wake up. So I can't do that right now. But I'm just watching a bunch of TV. I really love farm shows. Like, don't ask me. That just makes me relax. They're not stressful to me. So that's my reality TV, is like farm shows, learning shows. Animal Planet-y type shows, even though it's not on Animal Planet. My kids like those too, so it's also what can I put that my kids it's on. But games, I really love like Skyrim, Fallout, Starfield, but also like the thing that really calms me down that I was playing a lot of while I was pregnant is pressure washing. I love to pressure wash.
gosh.
It makes me so happy.
Anybody need
So
pressure washing?
crazy.
Just let Kara know. She doesn't in her spare
I might
time.
Walking up to the
hired you.
stadium, I'm like, I just want to pressure wash that. So I don't know what it is, but that just relaxes me. So I do that. My husband does not do that. Do not compliment him. It's mine. So the reason my house is so nice and clean on the back is it's me. Just enjoy it.
So, Bridget, you got a sundrop in your hand. What are you eating while you're watching a match?
Nachos. If I'm at home,
Nachos?
I make homemade nachos every game.
Ooh.
It doesn't. It's gonna happen.
Do you make your own cheese, or you just get some sort of store-bought thing and heat it up?
I can't make my own cheese. I have to go churn the milk and do all that kind of stuff. I'm not that old school, I don't still have cows and that.
Make sure.
I'm just kidding. I do get the chips and I make the meat and I make them from scratch. Yes, I don't make the
Gotcha. Like
tortillas either.
like a nacho supreme type thing with all this.
Yeah. I put
It's-
nachos and then I have certain types. I put 2 different types of cheese and then ground beef on it and then rotel. I make them fancy.
What about you, Kara? What's your snack with your Coke Zero?
I don't
Right?
really. I can't eat during the game. I mean, if it's at the stadium, I want my popcorn. That makes me happy. But if I'm at home, like no, I'm usually like got my hands stuck to my face, clenched around them because I'm just so tense and or hollering. If I had anything on me, it would go flying. Other than the baby, which doesn't. So we don't make her go flying. But yeah, no, I don't. I might have something after. Like I can't eat during it because I'm just so stressed about the outcome and what might happen. So I wait until after when I need to calm back down.
She does the opposite of me. I stress eat the whole game, and then she doesn't eat until after the game.
Yeah,
I don't think it works out for me.
Dinner before, dessert after.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Bridget, do you find starting a project or finishing one more gratifying?
Finishing it.
Finishing. Kara?
I would probably say finishing too. Although I have ADHD, so will we do either?
Right. Right.
That's why it's so gratifying when I finish it because I started so many things that it's like if I finish it, I'm like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
Saw it through.
Yeah.
All right. Kara, what recharges you?
I like to take a nice bath, but also I just like darkness and quiet because a lot of things are very stimulating around my household. I'm the quiet one in this family, and so everyone else is extremely loud, except the dogs. The dogs are half and half. So I like to sit with them, and I like to sit and read, and I love some nice silence. So, and I like to make sure the lights, I'm sitting near a window, there's birds chirping. That just makes me happy and calm. And some nice music. So
Nice combo. Bridget, what about you? What recharges you?
Sleep. I enjoy sleep. I don't sleep a lot, so if I get to sleep, I do. I like a real good nap. But being with my daughter too, if we are away from everything and I can get her off her phone for a minute, I like just spending time with her. I don't get to do it as much as I used to, so that's my happy place is with her. Laughing. I make her laugh. That's my goal is to make people laugh in life. If y'all haven't realized that.
All right.
That or laugh at myself, one or the other. We're gonna laugh. So you either laugh at me or with me. It's just that's like
It's still gonna happen, right? All right, last question. If you were a current player on Charlotte FC, what player would you most be like?
Oh, I'm Andrew Privet.
You are.
That's what I would probably want to be.
I guess underdog type.
Yeah, I would say like I like the defensive side of it. I can't not that he can't do offensive, but again, like his specialty is defensive, whether it's midfield, I like big kicks and things like that, but I like being the wall, but don't put me in goal. Like I don't want to be goal for the team. No, thank you.
Right.
But yeah, center back, I got you. If only I could run right now because I've just had a baby and can't do anything.
Yeah. All right, Bridget, what about you?
I'd probably be Ashley Westwood just because he's feisty and he gets involved in a lot of stuff, and I think I'd be that person. I don't want to run as much as he does. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that's who I would be if it was one of them because I'm feisty. I'd prefer to say I would be like a George Marks, very mental, composed, but that's not me. I'm gonna be a.
She would be in somebody's face.
Yeah, I'm getting yellow
Yeah.
cards left and right.
I agree
4
with
more
that.
games. All right. Well, thanks, Kara and Bridget, for being on the show. I appreciate y'all doing this, and looking forward to hearing more of Queen's Pitch. If you guys don't mind kind of doing your pitch at the end for people to listen to, where to go, what to do.
Or you do this because you do it better than me.
Yeah,
Do you
but
have your
I
script?
also, well, no, I don't have a script.
Okay.
That's why we don't. You can follow us on Twitter at The Queen's Pitch. You can also find us on Instagram at The Queen's Pitch CLT, and those are the 2 platforms that we most like to be on there. Bridget, you can also, we each have accounts on Twitter. You're welcome to message us privately, and I don't know what else to say. Bridget, we don't do this.
Yeah, we don't. No. Not.
But if you
my
like
private
to
one-
react,
yeah.
you want to holler
Yeah.
at the game, you want to disagree
Come
with
on the
us, that's
show,
what we
right?
want to know.
Yeah, you want to get people to come on your show. So you need more people to amplify their voices and talk to you, right?
Absolutely.
tell us
If
what's
you
going
have a
on.
story,
Exactly.
you got an opinion on
Sounds
the
good.
team, we want to hear it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening to the Charlotte FC podcast. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to our podcast and follow us on X, Instagram, and YouTube at CLTFC Podcast. Enjoy your day.